Beans is not one of those things that children love, but as a pediatric nutritionist, I've cracked the code. I'm going to be pairing beans with mushrooms, which are two things that children are not a fan of, in a snack that every child is eager to eat, but you always have to buy outside. So without further ado, let's start making it. So the star of the recipe is going to be this mix of beans. Now I didn't just mix regular black-eyed beans, I also mixed lentils. And if you can see on the side of the video, this is exactly how I made it, and you can make it for your kids as well. Next is going to be this pureed mix. Now this is actually a mix of onions, peppers, and celery, no water, grinded to a nice puree form, which is going to serve as the marinade, as you can see here in the video, for our recipe. Next is this beautiful mix of ground lamb and mushrooms. Now I'm already showing you how I was able to achieve this. Now the reason why I chose lamb is a tender, more juicy cut of protein. It is also slightly leaner than red beef. Now, if you don't have access to lamb, go ahead and use goat meat. Just make sure you trim off any fat in the goat meat and cook your goat meat till it's really nice and soft, or pick a young goat to use for this recipe. However, if you don't have a young goat, please go ahead and use chicken or any other protein that is accessible to you. Now, if you don't have fresh oyster mushrooms, you can use portobellos, you can use shiitake, you can even use dried mushrooms, or you can use mushroom powder, which you can buy from any store. I will put links in my description for you to be able to access it. Mushrooms are such a powerhouse when it comes to your child's ability to improve brain function, improve memory, help to regenerate cells that could potentially be damaged, and just essentially help them improve their health. Next, we have some butter. Now, you want to make sure your butter is room temperature because it's essential for this recipe. We can never leave out our vegetables. You always want a choice of vegetables. Any vegetables you have at home will work just fine. Now, the star of my dish is potatoes. If you notice, I peeled my potatoes and chopped my potatoes with the skin on. This is also very important. A lot of the vitamins in potatoes are left on the skin. So you want to make sure that when you're making this recipe, leave the skin on. Just wash your potato properly. Now we have all-purpose flour, typical when you're making any kind of pie, and this just helps to give it the right consistency. Now for my spice mix, I'm also showing you what that actually looks like. I always use natural spices because I'm making meals for children and just to help them create a more mature and not heavy sodium based recipe. Now, of course, you can skip the salt if you're making this recipe for a child that is under 1 year, but this recipe is best for children that are a year and above. So you can definitely add salt. All right, let's start cooking. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to heat up our pan and then add some butter into the pan. This will serve as the fat for making the inside of our meat pie filling. Once the butter has melted, the next step is to add in your spices. Adding in oils and aromatics and your spices together first before you add anything else really does wake up those spices and enhances the flavor of the food. So you generally don't actually need to add too much salt because your food will be really tasty. Once that is all mixed together, we'll add in our mushroom and meat protein, and we're going to leave this and allow this to cook till the meat is completely done. Next, we will go ahead and add some potatoes into some boiling water. Now you want to add in all your potatoes, and you always want to boil your potatoes first before you actually use them in your meat pie filling. This just helps to increase resistant starch, increases the fiber, and helps with gut health. Once the potatoes are boiled and our meat is done, the next thing we'll do is we're going to combine them all together. I wish you guys could actually smell my kitchen. Now we're adding in our veggies here. Again, my veggies I'm using are frozen, but any veggies of choice you want to use will work perfectly. Always add veggies to your children's meals. It's so important. Potatoes go in. These are still hot, so you don't have to wait for them to cool down. And this will add bind and a lot of moisture. And as you can see, our meat has now softened, and we're going to leave this to cool. Next, we're going to start making our dough. So I'm adding in about 2.5 cups of flour, and then I'll add in about 1 cup of beans flour, right? So I'm adding in roughly about 1 cup of beans flour to this, and then we'll add butter, and then we're going to make a crumble. Now, remember our butter is room temperature, so it's going to be easy for us to break it up into our flour mixture. Once we have completely done this and it's well incorporated, as you can see, it will start to look like a grain of sand. The next thing you want to do is add some baking powder. I will leave all the measurements in the description to make it easier for you to follow along, but I really wanted to walk you through this because I find that a lot of people struggle with making meat pies at home, and today we are making a meat pie that stands out. Now notice I made a well in the middle of my flour mixture simply because that's where, as you can see, I'm adding in cold water. Always use cold water when you're making a pie dough. It helps it become more flaky, rise evenly, and generally keeps your dough together. I'm adding the water in very gradually, so this is very important. Don't go and add in all your water at once. That's going to be a mess. And before we continue this recipe, have you subscribed to my channel yet? If you haven't subscribed, hit that notification button right now, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you're joining the bandwagon of parents who want to feed their children way better, stop struggling with nutrition, and give their children maximum meals that taste really good. Now that my dough has been mixed properly, I'm just going to use my hands to work the gluten in. Remember, I said we're using all-purpose flour. Now, if your child is gluten-free or you need to be on a gluten-free diet, any gluten-free flour of your choice would work. I'll leave some examples in my description for you to try for this particular recipe. We're just again working our dough, making sure that all of it is well incorporated and the gluten is ready to go. And then next, we're going to roll it out. You want to roll it to about an inch thick or half an inch thick. Roll it flat out, and then once you have done that, the next thing you want to do is you want to cut out the meat pies. Now, meat pies are semicircles, so we're going to use some sort of circular thing to cut out the meat pies. Now, I did this quite a number of times till I made as many meat pies that my dough could make. There isn't a specific measurement, so dependent on how big or small the circular object you're using to make your meat pies will determine how many meat pies you will need. Next, we are going to whisk an egg and use that to line the exterior of the pie, just so that when we add our filling and we close it, it doesn't open when it goes into the oven for baking. Now, you're going to do this for every single one of the meat pies you're making. Now, it's called an egg wash for a reason, because you're literally washing the exterior of your pie dough. Now, be generous. Please don't give your children half-filled meat pies. Be generous with your filling. I used about 2 tablespoons for each one, and then we're going to seal the ends with a fork to give it that standard meat pie look. Make sure you're sealing all the ends and you're getting very close to the end. And then, of course, because we don't want our meat pies to burst, we are going to use the fork as well to make holes at the top. We'll repeat this for every single one of the meat pies, and then once we're done, we're going to throw those into the oven, and then we'll bake them for about 20 to 25 minutes on low heat. But before we do that, make sure that you use that same egg wash to brush on top of your meat pies, because that will give it that glossy look that a standard meat pie has. Who would believe that there's actually beans in this? Look at how golden brown and delicious these meat pies look. I wish you could taste these from my kitchen, but I trust that you're going to make it by yourself. And that's it for this recipe. I absolutely enjoyed making this for you and walking you through the steps. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments, and let me know if you're going to be trying this, because it is so good. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, definitely hit that notification button so you don't miss my next video. I'll see you then. Bye.